Only a third of this money has been spent as of September 2024.
Tonight, an investigation has found that hundreds of millions of dollars for Indigenous women and children escaping violence remains unspent.
So this is a really exciting, special trip that I'm looking forward to very much.
The impacts of the residential school system still felt to this day, as a family is closer to being reunited.
And they are very different in the way that they think and they celebrate and they work and they challenge and push.
And how an upcoming play in Winnipeg is celebrating Métis culture. Tanse, good evening. I'm Krisanachkite. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. The Quebec Court of Appeal is authorizing a class action for forced sterilization of multiple Atikamekw women in Joliette, Quebec. Previously, the class action was just against 3 physicians, but now includes a regional health authority that operates the Joliette Hospital in Quebec. The health authority, also known as CISSS, was initially excluded from the class action in August of 2023 by Quebec's Superior Court. Plaintiffs appealed that decision, and the Quebec Court of Appeal has now allowed the CISSS to be included in the class action. The class action is represented by 2 Atikamekw women from Manawan who say they were endured forced sterilization by 3 physicians at the CISSS without their consent. A study published in 2022 finds that 22 Indigenous women experienced forced sterilizations between the 1980s and 2019 in Canada, but ongoing lawsuits have stated that number could be much higher. An hour just south of Edmonton is the Musquecheese RCMP detachment. An RCMP officer serving there has been charged for assault causing bodily harm by the Alberta Serious Incident Response Team known as ACERT. Officer Christopher Larson was charged last week. The assault happened in 2022. As ACERT's investigation found that Larson had used excessive force with a person in custody in the Samson Cree Nation. Larson was released and will appear in a Wetaskiwin court on April 15th. So far this year, ACERT has charged 3 officers. The Bissell Center and Boyle Street Community Services in Edmonton teamed up on Saturday to help give back to the homeless. It was for their 8th annual Coldest Night of the Year walk and fundraiser in the city. Above average temperatures helped bring out about 400 participants. People walked through the downtown Edmonton core to raise money and awareness of homelessness. It's all for people who need services such as meals, clothing, job opportunities, and more. Organizers of the walk say they nearly reached their goal of $150,000. They hope to reach that amount later this week.
We had a nice little meet and greet, a good warm up, and then we hit the streets, hit the downtown community. We walked either 2 or 5 kilometers through the downtown community, then came back together at Boyle Street Plaza for a great reception where we had some Indigenous style stew from our food services program.
Next door in Saskatchewan, communities across the province are celebrating warmer weather after weeks of temperatures around -40. Despite the improved weather, a group of citizens remain concerned about the impact of these extreme temperatures have on the unhoused. APTN's Rachel May spoke with the group to discuss ways to support the homeless.
And we recently had a count about 1,500 unhoused people in Saskatoon, and there's only probably like 10 warm-up locations for throughout the day and 2 overnight shelters.
Most of Saskatchewan was under an extreme cold warning from Environment Canada throughout February. A group of Indigenous citizens has come together after realizing there was a need for awareness when it comes to surviving the cold weather as an unhoused person. A series of smudge walks have been organized to honor those who have lost their lives in the frigid weather and those still struggling with housing insecurity. The walk consists of trekking along various routes in the city and pausing at intersections for prayer. Chris Moya, one of the Smudge Walk organizers, is asking a crucial question about protecting people from the elements.
I think this is an ongoing issue that's been going on for years. Is there's people who are struggling to survive on the streets. You know, why isn't there anything being done? Why wasn't anything being done years ago? You know, because winter comes every year.
Wayne Ermine, Resource Room Coordinator at Quint Development, says it's important for everyone to educate themselves on the barriers people face with housing.
Break down our pride. And that's where it is our ego. And because I made it sure myself, so I think everyone should be able to do that. But then I don't realize that I'm at a mental state where I'm able to perform at my peak, but people are in a mental state out there where they're not. And so we need to be more understanding of their mental health.
The city of Saskatoon has approved a $4.5 million homeless encampment for a 30-unit supported housing development. Ermine suggests that funds could be spent on fixing existing homes to create more permanent housing.
We have 147 derelict houses in Saskatoon, and those are just boarded up, nothing, and we're getting $4.5 million. Why don't we turn those into fourplexes? We can turn 147 units into 600 units right now in under a year.
The next Smudge Walk will be at noon on March 1st at the Saskatoon Indian and Métis Friendship Centre, where participants will walk to a nearby parking lot where a round dance will be held. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
The Winnipeg Police Service is warning the public about a new form of fentanyl disguised as household items that was recently seized during an investigation. These are photos provided by Winnipeg Police where the drug appears to be pressed into shapes that resemble cookies, colorful candles, soaps, or confections. The Winnipeg Police Service says they are continuing to investigate and cannot stress enough that if you come across similar items, do not touch them and report it to police immediately. An investigation by the Winnipeg Free Press has found hundreds of millions of dollars meant for housing for Indigenous women and children fleeing from violence has never been spent. The Indigenous Shelter and Transitional Housing Initiative is one of the largest investments by the Trudeau government in response to the national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. For more on the program and why the money hasn't been spent, we're joined by investigative reporter Marcia McLeod. Marcia, thank you for speaking with us. My first question is, can you start by telling us what the Indigenous Shelter and Transitional Housing Initiative is and what the goal of the program was?
Absolutely. So this program was launched in 2020 by Justin Trudeau's government, and it's a $724.1 million fund. And that money, it was announced in response to the national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and the 231 calls for justice. And this fund was meant to build transitional homes as well as emergency shelters for women and children who were escaping violence. The program is primarily being led by the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, or CMHC, and it officially launched in 2021 and is set to be spent over 5 years, so concluding in March 2026.
Marcia, can you explain why this was something you wanted to look into and what did you discover?
Absolutely. So I first started reporting on this fund actually in 2022, close to when it launched. And what we found when we were looking into it this time around, we obtained about 500 pages of government records that really helped us reveal what was going on behind the scenes. But we learned as well that only a third of this money has been spent as of September 2024, which obviously leaves 2/3 of this money unspent, meaning it's not been delivered to the intended recipients, but at almost $500 million that's been left on the table. And we know that for this program, 88 transitional homes or shelters were supposed to be built. And as of September, just 2 of those facilities have been completed. We know 22 are under construction, and the remainder have either not been selected yet or they haven't yet begun construction.
How many of these projects have gone ahead?
So we know that 2 are officially complete and others have been selected. However, what we really know is that there were also so many issues for projects that weren't selected. It was an incredibly difficult application process for those communities that were trying to get access to the fund. And our records show that they spent enormous amounts of money and as well really just a really significant amount of time to even get to the stage where they received a denial. And these government records or CMHC records, they acknowledge this, that small communities with limited resources may not have been able to apply to the fund at all because of how onerous the application was.
And Marcia, in your reporting, what is the reaction from the federal government regarding all of this?
CMHC, which is it's a federal crown corporation, they've said to me that they are on track to spend the money by 2026, so 13 months from now. And we know that they've said that they have made some changes to try to streamline the application processes, but there's more I wish I knew, and they declined our requests for an interview with somebody managing the program.
Is there a risk hundreds of millions of dollars meant for this program, will that money never be spent?
I think it remains to be seen over the next 13 months. Obviously, your viewers would know we are headed into a federal election campaign in the next couple of months. The Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, is currently the front runner of that. A lot could change, obviously. However, we do know that it's uncertain the degree to which the needs of Indigenous priorities are going to be the needs of Indigenous communities are going to be a priority either for a new Liberal government or for the Conservatives.
That's Winnipeg Free Press investigative reporter Marcia McLeod. Marcia, thank you for your time.
Appreciate it.
Funding for 2SLGBTQI+ could be at jeopardy later this year. Sav Jones with that story when we come back. Thanks for staying with us. More 2SLGBTQI+ entrepreneurs across Canada are getting some help with their businesses thanks to a federal program. Now, 6 months since launching the program, a federal minister says it could be in jeopardy if there is a change in government later this year. Sav Jones has more.
Recently announced 12 more nonprofit organizations receiving funding from its 2SLGBTQI+ entrepreneurship program. Now totaling 29 recipients, 3 organizations will focus on supporting Indigenous 2SLGBTQI+ entrepreneurs by delivering workshops, coaching initiatives, and webinars to build entrepreneurial skills.
We're excited to have this opportunity to make sure that our programming is inclusive, because we do at the end of the day want everybody to feel safe in our spaces.
Inspire Nunavut's territory lead, Cora Kaviaktuk, says the funding will allow her team to create a 12-week virtual program to develop the strengths of 15 Inuit 2SLGBTQI+ entrepreneurs this summer.
We're going to be able to give them a training allowance, supply them with a laptop and internet, and, just limit all those barriers that a lot of people might face.
The first of its kind, the $25 million 2SLGBTQI+ entrepreneurship program and its $8 million ecosystem fund began in August 2024. It commits to making a more inclusive economy for Two-Spirit, gay, and gender-diverse entrepreneurs. Federal Minister of Small Business, Rechi Valdez, says an economy that leaves people behind is a weak one.
And today, 40% of 2SLGBTQI+ entrepreneurs face difficulties, whether that's accessing funding. A third have had to hide who they are as a person, and a quarter of them have lost business opportunities.
She says there are more than 100,000 2SLGBTQI+ owned businesses in Canada, employing almost 500,000 Canadians and generating over $22 billion in economic activity. The fund hopes to provide these and new entrepreneurs the supports and resources they need to succeed. But Valdez says efforts like this may be in jeopardy if there is a change in government this upcoming federal election.
Right now, we've heard the Pierre Poilievre, including the Conservative Party of Canada, They voted against our women entrepreneurship strategy. They voted against our Black entrepreneurship program. So there's no doubt in my mind they will absolutely cut the 2S LGBTI plus entrepreneurship program.
APTN News reached out to Polyev for comment but did not hear back before airtime. The program's funding is administered by Canada's 2S LGBTQI plus Chamber of Commerce. Sav Jonesa, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
3 Inuvialuit half-sisters are meeting in person for the very first time after having grown up separately across Canada. APTN's Yellowknife journalist Bruce Dela Cruz has that story.
Yellowknife resident Sandra Noel is getting ready to see her 2 half-sisters after growing up on opposite ends of the country. Sandra has met her eldest sister Cheris and youngest sister Emma, but never in person at the same time, because Cheris lives in Montreal and Emma in Vancouver. Soon, all 3 will be together for the first time.
I've visited with them each a few different times, but they haven't met each other yet in person. And so the 3 of us haven't all ever been together at the same time in person. So this is a really exciting, special trip that I'm looking forward to very much.
Their mother, Laverna Avigana, was a residential school survivor, which Cheris thinks was a key reason for them growing up apart in foster care.
Of course.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because she was definitely too young to have me, for sure. So she already got so much before having us. So maybe it was just too much.
The sisters connected through their late maternal grandfather in the late 2000s. He kept tabs on all of them, which was key in making their upcoming reunion happen.
Played a very instrumental role in the 3 of us getting in contact with each other first in 2007. It's very special and I think important for us to get together. I think that's what he would have wanted, and even our mom, I think she would want us to finally meet each other too.
My dad had a picture of me on his wall, and he told me, "You're with me on this wall since 20 years. And I was like, "Really?" He said, "Yes. I think of you every time, and I'm just happy."
Cheris, who grew up in Quebec, also shares her feelings on how she felt meeting her mother's side of the family in Inuvik, Northwest Territories, for the first time.
Before I came in Inuvik in 2007, I was ashamed about being an Aboriginal Métis person. And after that, it's changed everything. And I become proud from my roots. I become proud of who I was. And it's changed everything.
Sandra reflects on what she might say to her mother if she were still alive to witness her daughter's reunion.
I would want to say, "Mom, look, we did it. We're here. And we have her to thank, Without her, we wouldn't have been born. So I have gratitude towards her, for giving birth to me, and for my sisters."
The sisters will be together for nearly a week in March in Vancouver, and Cheris hopes that this meeting is the first of many.
I wish to be able to see each other every day. Three or 4 times a year. But I will take that what I have now, and I will cherish this moment for a long, long time.
Bruce Dela Cruz, APTN News, Yellowknife.
Photo of the day and weather is up next. Plus, we'll tell you about a new Métis play in Winnipeg. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Clarence Jones sent us this setting moon over the mountains from the Gitxsan Nation. Clarence, that's no moon, that's a space station. A little Obi-Wan Kenobi for all of you Star Wars fans out there. Great shot, Clarence. Send us your photos to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now to tell you about tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East St. John's 1, Charlottetown 4. Cartwright 0, Happy Valley Goose Bay 1. Gaspé 8, Saguenay -3. Ottawa 5, North Bay 2. Sioux Lookout 1, Thunder Bay 2. Puckatawagan -12, Thompson -10. Dauphin 3, Winnipeg 3. 2 in Yorkton, Saskatoon, partly cloudy and 1. Uranium City -11, La Ronge -2. To the west at high level at -8, Fort McMurray -4. Calgary 10, Lethbridge 11. Kamloops 10, Campbell River 11. Fort Nelson -7, Dease Lake 3. Watson Lake 0, Dawson -10. Norman Wells -19, Wrigley -13. -27 in Sax Harbor, Paulatuck -27. Cambridge Bay -27, Baker Lake -28. And Resolute -30, Arctic Bay -33. The Manitoba Theatre for Young People has wrapped up rehearsals for their upcoming play titled Blue Beads and Blueberries. The play talks about a Métis family and the celebration of their Métis culture. APTN's Tyler Shingus was also there and brings us this story.
It's bigger and fiercer and faster than both! It's the river!
The MTYP has finished rehearsals for their new show within a show, Blue Beads and Blueberries, which they will be presenting at MTYP.
It starts off as a Métis retelling of Cinderella, but it's also at its heart a story of a dad and 2 daughters, and they are very different in the way that they think and they celebrate and they work and they challenge and push, and so it's just a story of a family trying to figure out how to work when all of us have different ways of working.
The play has a cultural consultant, Sarah Eden Boroditsky. She helped incorporate an authentic Métis jig into the play, which featured a fully Métis cast and crew. Emily Meadows is one of the cast.
I'm really excited to be telling a Métis story. This is the first time, as a Métis person, I've gotten to play a Métis character in a play, and so I'm really hoping that, we'll have a lot of Métis audience members coming out to see it, but also anyone from any background can see it and probably see those connections of themes of family, and also learning a bit more about the Métis Nation right here in the Red River settlement where it all began.
The play runs until March 2nd at the MTYP and then plans to hit the road until the end of May with their outreach vehicle. They already have over 80 shows booked throughout Manitoba. You can purchase tickets through their website where group rates are also available. Tyler Shingus, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Thank you, Tyler. And that's your evening newscast for this Monday, February 24th. We're back again tomorrow for your daytime newscast. We'll see you then. From all of us at APTN National News, hi miigwech masicho. Thank you for watching and have a good Monday evening. Akose.